Hey everybody, I'm the Boonslayer, and this is my review of WWE's Extreme Rules pay-per-view. It's their first, pay-per-view event in June of two. Going to be doing Money in the Bank in 2 weeks. This one's Raw, as opposed to SmackDown, which is what we were discussing with Backlash, and we'll be discussing SmackDown again with Money in the Bank. This like every 2 weeks stuff is kind of exhausting. I'm not going to lie. Really is. But and I just started doing these reviews too, but whatever. It's every 2 weeks, that's what we're dealing with. So let's get right into it. I wasn't that hyped for Extreme Rules. It's like, ooh, weapons matches. It's like, sure. There were something. I'm gonna point out some matches that I really was thinking were not going to be very good, and how I actually ended up feeling about them. So let's discuss that as we go along. Okay, so first of all, we have The Miz versus Dean Ambrose in a match for the Intercontinental title. And this is a match where if Dean Ambrose gets disqualified, he loses the championship. Now, that's a stipulation that's come about before. And, it's fine. This the theme of Extreme Rules, though, is that everything's going extreme. Is that there's less rules. So now we have a match where there's more rules, but at the same time, it also serves to, putting it at the beginning of the show also serves to the sense of escalation throughout the show in like how crazy things get. So I can certainly applaud them for that. In terms of like the way they ordered the matches, and it does serve as a good way to work with the feud. And also they do a lot of like different stipulations on this show where things feel a lot more different. And this is one of those stipulations where it's like, I guess you could say it's extreme in a sense. It was also a good match. Like, they really work with the psychology of Dean Ambrose being very unhinged, and being on the brink of like doing something that will result in him getting disqualified. And then near the end of the match, that sort of psychology shifts a little bit. Like, Miz is actively trying to goad Dean into getting disqualified throughout most of this match. And we've also got sort of, I think there was a focusing on the body part thing. I don't remember. There probably was, because it's a wrestling match, and that's what you do in wrestling matches when you're a heel. But mostly it was like trying to play to Dean's natural aggression, and I can certainly applaud the effort there. And near the end of the match, Miz actually tells, I really like the way that they did this ending. Miz tells Maurice to slap him. Maurice is the Miz's valet, and he tells Maurice to slap him to incite the disqualification. Referee sees it, and referee doesn't fall for it. He just ejects Maurice instead. It's like, I know you're trying to intentionally get him disqualified so he'll win the title. Get out of here. But then, like, the Miz, like, shoves Dean Ambrose into the referee as the referee's ejecting Maurice. And the ref is like, hang on. No, I'm about to disqualify you because you ran right into me, bro. It's like, and it's like, I feel like that was a little bit stupid, a little bit too stupid on the ref's part. But at the same time, I think it really did work, because like he's walking over there, and Dean Ambrose is like asking him to not do it and trying to explain himself. And near the end, it looks like the referee, John Cone is the referee, by the way. It looks like he changes his mind, like right before Miz sneaks up from behind and does the skull-crushing finale. So Dean Ambrose does not lose by disqualification, but the stipulation plays a factor in how the match ends. And The Miz is the new Intercontinental Champion 7 times. 7-time Intercontinental Champion. Next, we have a Cruiserweight / women's match. A mixed tag team match between Noam Dar, the team of Noam Dar and Alicia Fox. Their thing is that they're in love. By the way, Noam Dar is fucking amazing. Versus Rich Swann and Sasha Banks. Rich Swann is also amazing. Sasha Banks is also amazing. Yeah, for a while I was like not great on Alicia, but I Alicia Fox a lot more now. This is not really any kind of hardcore stipulation, so again, it serves to that escalation. This has less strict rules enforcement than the Intercontinental Championship match in a sense. So it's kind of like it's weird because like there's not as much tension about a disqualification in this match. So it serves to that escalation of the violence level. And there's lots of flying going on. It's a good sort of it was a good match. I felt like it had enough time. It was very flippy. For those who don't like flippy matches, probably skip this one. But it's a good breather match in between them. And Rich Swann was wrestling in his hometown, and they made note of the fact that he was wrestling in his hometown. And it's like, Swann's going to lose, isn't he? He's going to take the pinfall to Noam Dar. And as it turns out, no. Rich Swann won in his hometown, because WWE has this habit of if someone wrestles in their hometown, they lose. And I thought, and I remember when I saw Rich get the pin, it's like, that's really strange. It's really strange that they'd give somebody in their hometown the win, and it's not even like sort of, oh, this guy's getting pushed to the moon. Although they kind of make it sound that way a little bit with saying that Rich Swann kind of put himself in contendership for the Cruiserweight title, even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. But they kind of make it sound like he's sort of getting pushed off of this, but at the same time, my phone goes off. I noticed that it wasn't really like a big name. They didn't make it a big deal that he won in his hometown, which, if you're going to make it like wrestling in your hometown is a disadvantage and then not really bring it up when the victory happens, that seems odd. But then I realized something. Heel won the first match, and I was sitting there thinking, not a single babyface is going to win any of these matches, are they? Not a single one. So next we have this weird Elias Sampson segment. He's in the ring and he sings a song, about how like an unnamed warrior is gonna face the Beast, and it's like, and of course he trashes Baltimore, so whatever. And it seems like it just doesn't fit in the show. I don't know if they're like setting up for him to like move his way towards main event feuds, if he's like targeting someone in particular. Like he talked about an eye for an eye on Raw, which he got attacked by The Miz, so it would seem like an eye for an eye would mean he'd be going after The Miz, but he didn't go after The Miz in that match, because I thought Elias was going to show up in the Miz versus Ambrose match. He didn't. And he shows up here and talks about the main event. It's like, are they setting up a feud between him and somebody who is in this particular main event that I'll get into when we get to the main event, obviously. But I'm just wondering what the hell this was about. Next we have Alexa Bliss versus Bayley in a kendo stick on a pole match, which is kind of stupid because the way the match is, they have a pole sticking out of one of the turnbuckles, and attached to that pole they have a kendo stick hanging down, and basically whoever grabs the kendo stick gets to use it as a weapon, even though both of them get to use it as a weapon anyway if they want. But the person who grabs it has an advantage because they have the kendo stick. And that, I guess that's like the only legal weapon in the match. It's kind of stupid. You could just make a match where kendo sticks are legal, and that would work fine. But I think they did well with sort of the psychology of the match. The whole story of the match is that Bayley might not really have the mean streak in order to use weapons in a match, and they play with that very well. They have Bayley sort of hesitate with the kendo stick, and they have Alexa Bliss going after Bayley with the kendo stick. My real complaint, though, is that this match was very short, and it kind of sort of felt like a squash in a way. Alexa Bliss won, by the way. That's a heel winning. So, and yeah, it just felt really short. And so did my segment talking about it. Next up, we got a steel cage match. Matt and Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus and Cesaro for the tag team titles. In this cage match, pinfalls and submissions do not count. Both partners have to get to the outside of the cage and have their feet on the floor. This was a really good match. Like, you know, a cage match you expect to be sort of brawl, 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 try to escape, brawl, 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 try to escape, like stuff like that. They got some spots in. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of high flying. Matt and Jeff Hardy are involved in this match. Matt was getting steadily a little bit more broken, you know, because there was that going on. And you know, there were a few really cool spots near the end of the match, and what's very interesting is the way that they played out the ending, because Jeff Hardy escapes the cage, right? And then it's 2-on-1 with Matt Hardy facing off against both Sheamus and Cesaro. And so then like and Matt Hardy's trying to get to the escape, but he's left in a bad way. So Jeff Hardy climbs his way back up to the top of the cage, does a whisper in the wind, which is kind of this sort of twirling kick, I guess, would be the best way to call it. It's like spinning kick that's normally done off the top rope, to both kick / body block, I guess, to Sheamus and Cesaro, re-entering him into the match. Thus, it resets the progress, and actually the damage he does to himself in order to give Matt a chance to escape is what results in Sheamus and Cesaro winning, because Jeff's like out, Matt's like having to drag him out, and they just barely don't make it before Sheamus and Cesaro. It was a really well thought out finish, and they really used the stipulation for it. I'm really liking the psychology of most of these matches on this particular night. It was really good. Next we have Neville versus Austin Aries in a submission match. This is not an escalation of the violence, although there's something I'd like to note about the choice of stipulation here. I think choosing a submission match fits for sort of ending their feud. In one way, it does fit, because the fact that both of these guys have submission finishing maneuvers, so it makes sense to have them sort of duel on that ground of things that they are good at. On the other hand, I have to consider the way that we got here, because Neville, who was the heel champion in this situation, in their previous match, Austin Aries was about to win, and Neville ends up like pulling the referee, like basically throwing the referee, and the referee disqualifies him. So that's fine. So he retains the championship on a disqualification, which makes sense. So, the problem with using a submission match is they make it very clear throughout the match that does not take away the disqualification thing. So, because the thing is, if you're gonna blow off a feud, if you're gonna advance a feud in that fashion, then take away the thing that the heel used to win the last time. That's generally how these things are done. Now, granted, he wasn't able to get the disqualification. He actually did end up making Aries submit in the end, and it was a very good match. You know, there was lots of great technical wrestling, and there was some high flying too, for sure. And I swear, the spot that they do for the end of the match, like, it looked more impressive than it really was. It was Red Arrow. Like, admittedly, it was impressive for him to sort of have the wherewithal after hitting the Red Arrow, because that type of stuff kind of hurts. But to have the wherewithal to go into the Rings of Saturn, which is his submission finisher, in order to pick up that win. And the interesting thing is that a lot of the sort of focus on the body part storytelling from both of them were that they were focusing on the leg earlier in the match, and both of their submission finishers actually focus on the upper body. So they were doing something that, although would make it easier for them to go after their opponent, would not make it easier for them to pick up the victory. But like I said, Neville ends up winning that match and retaining the Cruiserweight Championship. It was a good match. Final match of the night, we have a Fatal 5-Way match. This match is between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt, Samoa Joe, and Finn Balor. And it is for the number one contendership to the WWE Universal Championship, which is currently held by Brock Lesnar, who has not defended the championship since WrestleMania. That's kind of stupid, but whatever. He's going to defend it at the beginning of July at Great Balls of Fire. Right. So this was a great match. Like, I have a tendency to really like multi-man matches. So, chalk that up to my personal preference. And if you like multi-man matches too, I think you'll like this one. Everybody got the stuff they wanted to do in. And that's just it. Unlike with the Divas matches, the women's matches. God, I've been conditioned to say the word diva over my life. But unlike with the women's matches where they had the throw everybody in one match, with this one, it wasn't. It had a lot more time. Like, this was like over 30 minutes, whereas those were like 10-minute matches where really all you could expect was for everybody to just get their stuff in. So, and that's what happened. Everybody got their stuff in those matches. This was like a bigger match, so it was more than just everybody gets their stuff in. It was, lots of stuff going on. Like, we see an early team up between Bray Wyatt and Samoa Joe. We get to see that team up break down in kind of a subtle way, actually, with like Bray Wyatt pushing Samoa Joe a little bit in the way of Finn Balor diving to the outside. And we get to see everybody get in offense and everybody receive offense and this intensity. And near the end of the match, like, everything picks up to 11. Samoa Joe has the coquina clutch on Finn Balor on the outside, and Roman Reigns comes in from off shot. Like, Kevin Dunn did a great job with this. Roman Reigns comes in from off shot, like, out of nowhere, spears both of them through the barrier. And then Seth Rollins, who and then Bray Wyatt is laid out on an announcer's table, and Seth Rollins goes all the way to the top rope and does a frog splash onto Bray Wyatt on the announce table, and these are right after each other. And then Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins get up and they hobble their way towards the ring in order to finish the match, because it has to finish in the ring. And they fight for a little bit. Then Bray Wyatt comes in, and sort of, and we go into sort of the final sequence of people like coming in one after the other. It sort of ends with this like sort of showdown between Finn Balor and Roman Reigns, with Finn Balor hitting offense on Roman Reigns. He's about to win. He hits the coup de grace, has the pin. Joe comes in out of nowhere with coquina clutch, puts Finn Balor to sleep. Samoa Joe is the number one contender. And if this is a short-term feud, I think Samoa Joe is probably the only one of these five guys that doesn't really get hurt by losing to Brock Lesnar. So yeah, that was the show. It was actually better than I was expecting it to be. I was expecting sort of a middle-of-the-road filler thing. I think they're trying to get things a little bit in higher gear. Admittedly, like, part of it is that the storylines for a lot of this were very going in, but then when we actually get to the show, the matches were much better than what the storylines sort of told us the matches were going to be. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions for any future videos in this series. Or, the presentation I do later on. Wow. Yeah, it's still recording. Okay, good. So, and yeah, this was actually a little bit shorter than the last one. At least 5 minutes shorter, I think. So that's going to be all for this time, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And until 2 weeks from now for Money in the Bank, where I get to talk about Jinder Mahal again. That's going to be fun. This is your friendly neighborhood Boonslayer signing out. I'm just going to go back to that intro because fuck it. Or outro. Fuck it. Bye.